When talking about the climate crisis, there is so much jargon. We hear about net zero, climate targets, negative emissions, and it can seem really overwhelming, especially as we're seeing an increase in extreme weather events, more wildfires, more flooding, more droughts, and it can sometimes feel extremely worrying that not enough is being done. But there is a roadmap to creating a safe and habitable planet if we follow the right steps and start now. So climate change is a natural phenomenon. Throughout the Earth's history, the climate has changed. But since the Industrial Revolution, humans have been burning fossil fuels, so coal, oil and gas. And when we burn fossil fuels, we release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. The main greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide, but there's others, methane, nitrous oxide. And these greenhouse gases are basically like a blanket over our planet, and it keeps it warmer, they absorb heat. So if we want to bring that temperature back down, we need to remove these greenhouse gases from our atmosphere. To give you an idea of the scale of this, currently we are emitting about 50 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere every year. In the space of 30 years, this needs to be zero globally. Now it's net because we still will be releasing some greenhouse gases, but any that we are releasing, we need to be sucking in, so there's overall zero emissions from human activity. The reason why we want to be zero by 2050 is because we need to hold on to this hope of keeping global warming to within 1.5 degrees of pre-industrial levels. Pre-industrial levels we count as zero. We don't want it to exceed 1.5 because science tells us that the world will basically be a much less hospitable place if we let temperatures increase by more than that. So we'll see more climate chaos. It is still possible to meet that target. We've left it pretty late, and scientists tell us that this is going to be really hard to reach it. But if we want the planet to be a safe place, we do need to get there. We need to keep fossil fuels in the ground. We've got all of these polluting industries, coal, oil and gas, and governments are still subsidising these industries. And that subsidy needs to go over to renewable energies. So hydroelectric, wind and solar are kind of the leading renewable energies. It's already happening, it's being rolled out, and in many cases it's cheaper than the fossil fuels alternative. And once government subsidies are starting to shift over to renewables, we're going to find that renewables are increasingly cheaper to produce. More and more people want to invest in them. They get better, they get more efficient, and eventually that snowballs, and that makes way for a global rollout. This is a whole structural change, and the individual does have power. We can make green choices every day. Dropping meat consumption, doing more recycling, consuming less, flying less. But really, it's governments which are going to manage this shift. And governments are only in power as long as they have your vote. So you need to let them know that if they're not going to support green energies and a more sustainable future, you're not going to vote for them. Although we can decarbonise lots of areas of energy, we can't properly decarbonise from heavier production of things like steel and concrete and aviation as well. So when we get to net zero, there will still be some emissions. So restoring land, restoring ecosystems, planting trees is going to help us suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, and that is going to be crucial. But there's another aspect of sucking carbon out of the atmosphere which is artificial. And this is called carbon capture and storage. This technology works like an artificial tree in that it will take in carbon dioxide and then will bury it deep underground where it will stay and it won't go back into the atmosphere. Kind of worryingly, this technology doesn't really exist at the moment, or it's not at least been proven at scale. So unlike the green technologies we were talking about earlier, we already got them, we can roll them out. This is new. And our roadmaps to net zero rely on this technology working. And some scientists are quite concerned that it has not been proven yet. We're betting the health of our planet on a technology that doesn't exist. So to make that as good a bet as possible, we need to be investing now as much as possible, and we need to be encouraging our governments to be looking for those new kind of technological solutions. Every government, every country is going to have a different path, but we all need to find our paths and get to the same endpoint. And this is only going to work if everyone is on board.